In this lesson, we're going to be multiplying decimals. Some students like to use the lattice square to multiply, and some students like to use the traditional method of using partial products. Either method is fine, just so long as you're getting the right answer. So let's do one example together, and we'll do it using both methods. Multiplying decimals is different from adding decimals because we do not need to line up our decimal points. Instead, we need to line up our numbers. So the first thing I'm going to do is rewrite my problem and line up my numbers vertically. Okay, now notice how the decimal points are not lined up, but the numbers are. We're now ready to multiply. Starting with the number on the bottom, which is 6. 6 times 3 is 18. I put the 8 down and carry the 1. Now I do 6 times 1 is 6, and I add this one up here, making it 7. Finally, 6 times 0 is 0. Now we need to figure out where the decimal point goes in our answer. To do that, we have to go back to our original numbers and count how many numbers come after the decimal point. And the first number, we have 2 numbers after the decimal point. In this number, there are no numbers after the decimal point. Altogether, we should have 2 numbers that come after the decimal point in our final answer. 1, 2. So our decimal point goes right here. This means that 6 times 13 hundredths equals 78 hundredths. When you multiply using a lattice square, you set up the lattice square the same way you would if it were whole numbers instead of decimals. So let's go ahead and set up our lattice square. Okay, now we multiply as we normally would. 3 times 6 is 18. 1 times 6 is 6. And 6 times 0 is 0. Okay, now we add. We just bring down the 8. We're not adding anything to that. 1 plus 6 is 7. 0 and 0. Now we just need to determine where our decimal points go. One of our decimal points is here. The other one comes after the 6, which would be here. The decimal points need to meet up, so we go across and down. We do not go diagonally. There we go. From here, once the decimal points have come together, they slide down the diagonal here. And this is where our decimal point goes in the answer. I find this method to be a little bit confusing when determining where the decimal point goes. So you could always do what we did before, which is count how many numbers come after the decimal point. 2 here, none here. So that means in our final answer, there need to be 2 digits after the decimal point. This means our final answer, once again, is 78 hundredths.